Hello and welcome to Crafting with Jane. Today we're looking at the lovely All and Create. Funny way of spelling all because it's AALL, but All and Create. It is number 369. It is called Hare and it's designed by Tracy Evans. Just the most lovely stamp set. So I thought we would do a long card with this because it lends perfectly to that sort of, you know, long effect. So what I've done to start off with is I have just stamped, because we're going to do some colouring and cutting, I've just stamped a couple out because I thought, well, while I'm doing one, I'll do the other at the same time, and I will probably put another two on there, so I've got some spare anyway. It stamps absolutely beautifully, as you can see. Because it's very long, I actually use a positioning stamp positioning platform because it's easier. But I thought that we would work with the background first of all, and I want to use this, which has got rather sort of nice little bits and bobs and things in there. I don't think it actually says the word. It's very difficult to tell sometimes, isn't it? Let me have a look at it on here. So I'm going to use some of that. I'm going to look on here and see. I don't think it probably has, no, it doesn't have hair. It has HR, oh yes, HAR, then it's got like a B and I just sort of squiggly things. You know, it doesn't matter. I want to do it in sort of neutrals, so I've chosen a palette of browns and beiges. You can use any color you want. So I'm going to start with, and I might just end up using just one, but I'm going to start with Crumb Cake. I've masked it already, and I've masked it with low tack tape, but I have de-tacked it because I do find it quite often sticks for me. So I'm just going to start just with my blending brush, just blending some colour in on here. I want it in on the edges and then just sort of out and about. So I'm doing it darker on the edges and then just bring it in. Again, darker on the edges and just bring it in. And I don't know whether I want, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, do I want some other colours in there as well? I might do actually. I might take a little bit of green. So I've got a pastel or a paler sort of green, and I'm just going to, I've got a blending brush that's got quite a bit of green in it, so I'm just going to add a little bit. I'm going to take it in on the center, I think. Just add just a little bit of green in here to just bring in some sort of earthy tones, but I don't want it too much, so I'm just sort of trying to bring it in at different sort of angles so that it's not completely sort of uniform. That's quite nice, I like that. Give this a little bit more in the dark to bring it across. I don't want too much, I don't think. I think that's probably about right. Do I want it a little bit darker? Maybe just a tad. Let's just take this corner. It hasn't got very much in it, has it? So deepen up my corners a bit and just bring it across. Using a blending brush is very good because you don't tend to get as many sort of blobs through. It does come through quite nicely. But you can obviously use whatever you've got. There we go, that's quite nice. A little bit more of the green, I think. Let's just bring that in on here. I quite like that, just a little bit of that green coming through. So I don't want too much of it, and I'm going to try and do more sort of around the edges because in thinking about it, a lot of the inside is going to be covered up. So I think that's going to be fine. So that's those two. Then I want to take this, where was it? Here it is. this stamp which has got the sort of words and things on, and as I say, I've no idea what it says, but I just fancy putting some of those down. And again, I don't want it too dark or too deep, or I just want it sort of in the background. So do I do it in green or do I do it in the brown? In fact, I might even go paler. So I might take, have I got, I was looking at, I've got Sahara Sand, which is a very pale colour, and I might actually do it in that because I don't think I want it to overpower, but we'll see. I can always go over and do some more. So this is the first time of using it, so I'm going to just stamp it off once to see. Oh yes, that's perfect, absolutely perfect. Okay, so I just want to go across the background and I'm going to do it right the way across. So it just gives that bit of a feature in the background. There we go. That I think looks really rather nice now. Quite pleased with that. I'm glad I chose the paler colour because I don't want it to be too overpowering. Okay, so I think that that is all that I need to do with this background. So this is the bit that I always absolutely dread, because even though I have low tack tape on this, you can guarantee, and I've detacked it and done all of those good things, you can guarantee that it doesn't always work. So let me just, you're going to have to bear with me while I fiddle about to try and find my end. And I know some people will do their heat tools to get it off. I just don't have. I buy specific low tack tape that I see other people use, and it seems to work beautifully. And then when I do it, it doesn't. So you can fast forward this bit, or you can just have a bit of a laugh while I'm trying to take it off. And it might, aha, I think it might be okay this time, says me, because I have done it really, really low tack. So what I want to do is, and I'm trying to take it as slowly as I can, because if you suddenly get a piece that doesn't come up nicely, it then starts tearing the paper, and it's just so frustrating. I did one the other day and I had to actually glue a piece down because it just started to rip. And as I say, even if you pull it backwards on itself, which is another tip, it doesn't. And as I say, heating it with the heat gun didn't have much effect whatsoever. Right, put that in the bin, take this other piece off, and then I can have, which obviously is stuck on more than the others. Let's see if I can just take that off this way. Now this is the one that always, I'm going to take it from the top and see if that works better. Don't you dare stick now. Please, please, please don't stick. I don't think it is. Hopefully, look at that. Okay, so it hasn't stuck this time. As I say, I really detacked it as much as I possibly could. So that's our, let's turn that over. That's our background. I think that looks really pretty. It's got all of the nice sort of patterning and stuff on there, which is nice. Now what I want to do is I've got to stamp this hare. Now I'm using my positioning tool purely because it's such a big stamp, which is why I've done a long card, because as you can see, once I get my positioning tool out, let's put this in on here. it takes up virtually the whole of the card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I've just put it on because I did it for the backgrounds, but I want to make sure that I get it exactly where I want it. So I'm just going to, hopefully you can see it on there. Yes, you can. So I'm going to position this. I'm going to make sure it's stuck down nicely because I've got some low tack tape on the bottom, and I'm going to put it right in on the center. Now I am cutting the other one out to go on top, but I just want to have that sort of distance in on there. So I'm just going to pick it up, do it very carefully, because I think I'm going to have to do it a couple of times. So let me just use, I'm going to use VersaFine, and I use the Onyx Black, which is very good. You can use the VersaFine Claire as well if you've got it. I haven't got it in black. As you know, I've got it in lots of colours. Well, I've got it in 4 colours, but I haven't got it in black. And for this one, I want it to have black on there. And so let's see if we can get this across and put this down on here nicely. Now I've got I've seen all of these tools people are using. This belonged to my mother and is an old darning for darning socks. You put it in at the bottom and then you do the darning. So I've taken that and just put it in a bit of kitchen roll so that it doesn't scratch or ruin, and then I go over it with that, because as you know, my hands aren't particularly strong and it actually works really well. So I'm quite pleased with that. So I'm literally just going across to make sure I've got as much. Now it doesn't need to be too deep, because the one that's going to be above is going to be the one that's going to be coloured and going to go in on top. So hopefully just one of this will be enough, but if it isn't, I can go back and do it again. Ooh, no, I want to do it again. It's not quite in on there, is it? So let's just ink it up again. And that's because we're doing it across on the background. So I just want to make sure that the wording and everything on here is going to come out really nicely. So just going to put it down again. Make sure that I've got it. I can do it with my fingers to start off with, but it's that little bit in the centre. Just bend it a bit. Take this out on here. Make sure we go round, because it's those ears up there that we want. Because as I say, I'm going to put the other one in on top, but I don't want it to be any of the words or things to not be coming out nicely underneath. So let's have a look and see what that is. That's beautiful, isn't it? So you could in fact just leave it like that, but I want to do some more with it. So I think that's beautiful. I really love the detail in this stamp. Take that little bit of tacky off, put that back on there again so I can use it again. I will clean that off later, but I'm not going to worry about that now. You know me, I always like to clean as I go, but because I want to do this. So that's beautiful. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take this one that we've already got and I'm going to cut it out. So I need some pretty good scissors with a nice pointy top to it. So I can literally, I'm just going to roughly cut it out first, because it's easier to work with a cut out piece than it is trying to do it with lots of paper. And it's a matter of literally turning your paper as you go. So I'm just going around. I'm going to leave a tiny little border, because I find it easier for me if I go on the outside of the line rather than go on the inside of the line. So I'm just literally, haha, I should have coloured it in first, shouldn't I? I think I can get away with it. So we're going to take this one out. We're going to go back over in onto this bit because I want to colour it in first. Now, I need to look at this and go, what sort of colour do I want my hair to be? It's going to be sort of a wintry hair, I think. So I want it to be probably, hairs are sort of browny grey, aren't they? So I've got my Inktense, which are really nice, vibrant ones. I've done some swatches of it now. And I was very lucky I was given these pens or pencils. Now, what colour do we reckon? I think probably Willow is the brown. So let me get Willow out. That's mustard. Is that Willow? Is it too dark? That's Willow. So we'll have some Willow, which is the dark brown. And then I want some sort of grey. Bark is quite dark, but it might be okay. Let me just do that. Bark's going to be my, that's bark. And then I think I'll have a little bit of the mustard in on there to just blend that in. Let's try with those. Put that out of the way so I can then see. I'm going to keep my swatch out just in case I go like, oh, what am I doing on here? So we're going to start with the Willow, which is the sort of darker brown. Willow. Okay, so what I want to do is to just, I'm using the side of my pencil and I'm just going in all the way over. With the Willow. Now I haven't zoomed you in on this, so I hope you can see. I think you can see all right on this. Now we could have a little white tail, but I don't think he's going to have a white tail. Just take him round in here. Now it doesn't matter too much if it goes over the edge because we're cutting it out. So you want it to sort of come up towards the edge, but not necessarily. Down on here is very skinny round there, isn't he? There we go. Okay, so that's the darker one. I want to get some of the mustard in here, so I'm going to do that sort of up on the top where it would be naturally a little bit lighter. Over on the top of the head and the top of his ear like that. Then I'm going to go in with the bark, which is the darker, and I'm going to go in on the bottom of this bit where the dark area would be. Now, if you were doing this yourself, you can do it like this all at the same time, or you can build it up in layers. So you can do a bit, let it dry, do a bit more, let it dry. But I think we're going to be all right with this. I think I'm going to just do some more of my mid-brown, which is the Willow. Because this is very, very bright, so I don't want to over do it, but I just want enough that when I add my water brush, it's going to, says me, where did I put my water brush? I put it safely so it wouldn't be, you know, has it fallen in on here? Let me just have a quick look. Nope. You know when you put everything out and you go, I'm all, oh here we are, you go, I'm all organised today. Yes. I don't get very organised. I tend to, I have most of my things fairly near to me. So I'm just getting a little bit of water on here. And I'm going to do the light to the dark. So I'm going to start at the top. And I'm just going to bring it in. So this has got sort of like mustard coming in, but then I'm coming down onto the dark on here. So you can see it comes in quite nicely and you've got the whole colour on there. And I can take this, which is just the brown coming into the darker, blend that up a bit because that's underneath. And I've got my kitchen roll, so if I've gone into the very dark like this, I can just take it off first of all. So again, the top of the head here, picking up that colour and then bringing it down so that you've got your nice light shade coming through, and then the body on there, and then across on here because this is paler, and then I want to bring it down on here into the dark. And you can see how you can blend it through and blend it up quite nicely. These pens are absolutely beautiful, so I do like them. And then the legs are a little bit darker on there, dark bit on the bottom. Just bring it in here. And as I say, if I was doing it myself in there, I would spend just a little bit more time and just make sure that I had you know, some nice colour coming through. So this is the dark, and I'm bringing that dark up and blending it through into the light. Blending it up on here. I'm going to take that out a little bit. I just want the pale up in on here, and coming down again onto the back. Now his little tail is a bit, just one little bit more colour, and you can see how you've got, by just blending those colours in, you're getting different tones coming through. So you've got your dark at the bottom, but it then comes up into slightly lighter at the top, almost as if the sun is catching the back of the hair as it's racing along, which I think works quite nicely. Okay, so that's the basis of it. And as I say, I would do a few more, building it up a little bit more. And in fact, once we've stuck it on, I might just add, I want to add a little bit of white on there as well. So if I was doing it with white, I would get my, because I just want a little bit of light coming through. So I've got my Posca pen. You can use any form of white gel pen, and what you can do is you can use your water brush to blend it in. So I'm just going to add a little bit of lightness in on the top here, but I'm making sure straight away I go in with the aqua painter to just blend it through. So, and I want a little bit on the top of his ear like that, and again I'm just blending it through a little bit, just so you've got that light, but it's not overly accentuated, because I think that that works better. And we'll have a little bit up on the top of here and a little bit down on there. But as I say, you need to get your brush in quite quickly before it dries, because Poscas can dry quite quickly, and then you end up with sort of a bit of a blobby mess. So I just want it over the top so that it blends through quite nicely. And then, do I want a little bit on the top of the tail? I think I do actually. So I'm just going to take some just in on the top of that tail, and then just blend that through. I can just take it through like that. There we go. So as that dries, it will become lighter, but that's given us quite a nice little bit of shading in on there. So now we can go back to our scissors and we can cut it out. The only reason that I do it before I've cut it out is because it's more difficult, obviously. So I'm just taking it round. Now it doesn't matter if it's not completely up to the line, because what you want to do is you're turning the paper as you go. Now I know quite a lot of you have said that you find fussy cutting quite difficult, but if you just turn your paper as you go, you don't have to worry overly. So I'm just turning my paper up on this bit. So when we get to the corner like this, you just turn with your left hand. Keep the scissors with your right hand fairly straight. So in on here. And again, if you've got this bit coming, you can see how that's catching me. Just take it off so that you haven't got that. And if you don't want this in the way, take it so that then as you move yourself round, you haven't got your scissors catching on anything. And it's an easy way of being able to just sort of turn it round and not be overly fussed. So I've got to go into this little bit on here. And again, I'm holding it with this hand just till I get up to there. Then I will turn and turn it round. Now I can hardly see underneath where his ears are. But just bringing it through like that. I think that should be fine. That here on his back. And again, it doesn't matter if it's not completely perfect because we've stamped the image in underneath on the other one, and that's what we really wanted. So I'm just making sure that I just turn it round as I go. I can take it off of there, so again I haven't got anything in my way. Come back in like this. Now I have cut it out of thinner paper than the cardstock I use is normally 300 GSM. This is probably only 220. So it's quite thin, but it's easier to do with the scissors. And because we're just going to be sticking it over the top, I don't think we're going to be adding any layer to it, because sometimes I don't like to have too many layers. It's with, you know, our postage is getting more and more expensive, and if you're like me, I send a lot of mail. I belong to quite a few different groups where we send cards and ATCs, artist trading cards, and a pen pal group and all sorts of things. So it means that I want to make sure that my postage is not ridiculous. So quite often if you add a dimensional in on there or a foam pad and stick it up, it goes into the next band because it doesn't go through the little slot. So I tend to be a little bit frugal with some of the things. As I say, I haven't been frugal over the last month with my Farnborough Craft Fair, which had over 100 stalls, and as you saw I had a big haul there. And then, as I say, I've bought some of the All and Create Tracy Evans stamps because I just fell in love with them, and also they had a weekend sale where you could get 80% or up to 80% off some of them. So I did get a couple of bargains in as well, which I'm always into having a bit of a gut bargain. So that has given me, oops, let's take this little ear off. Some new things to play with that have so many different possibilities. So it's all right, let's just take this little one off on here. There we go. Okay, so that's my hair done. I can now take all of these pieces off because I don't want them, and I can pop them straight in the bin, which I have just to the side of me. Right, let's bring our card back in. Let's turn this over to the other side so we've got that nice neat side, and we can put this in on here. Right, let me just take my swatch and things out of the way so we don't need that. Okay, so I'm going to pop my hair straight in over the top like that. And as I say, I'm not going to stick him up, I'm literally just going to glue him, because I don't want to have too many layers and dimensions in there. Now, if you'd wanted to, if you use some masking fluid or something like that, or even just use a little mask, you just make it one-dimensional. But I don't mind doing a little bit of fussy cutting like this. It's not, as you could see, it was not a difficult shape. It didn't take me very long. So, you know, don't be afraid to have a go at doing some fussy cutting. Even if your eyesight isn't, you know, my eyesight's not getting that good, make sure you sit in good light. So whether it's, you know, natural light or underneath some light, just make sure that you've got some good light to see, and then just have a go, because it is quite fun and it is quite relaxing. So I need to make sure that I've got, excuse me if my head starts bobbing in, because I want to get this exactly where it's supposed to go. That's why wet glue is very good, because you can just, there we go, you can just sort of, you know, move it around to make sure you've got it exactly on the right place. So I'm just making sure that I've got it stuck down. That I think is beautiful, really nice and natural looking as well, which is good. Now we have got, in this set, we've got one other thing that I haven't used, which is the word hare. Now, do I want to just put hare down on here somewhere? I think I do, actually. I think I do. I think that that will look quite good. I'm not going to fuss about with it. I'm literally just going to stamp it and just pop it up in the corner. So let's just put that in on there. Take my black again and just put that in like that. Make sure it's well inked up, because I don't want to ruin it at this stage. And then I'm just going to put it here like that. Give it a good old press. Make sure that's come down. It's a bit of a rocker, this one. It doesn't sit particularly flat, but you know, when I turn around and say never rock anything, just down and straight up. There we go. And I think that's quite nice. That just balances a bit, which is perfect. I don't want to do anything more to that, apart from I've got my card base here, and what I do want to do is I'm going to give it a little, because I've got the nice little border on here, I'm going to use gold, because I think gold would just lift it just a little bit. So Posca pens, you can use any gold pens you've got, to be quite honest. I'm using Poscas, as you know, because they are exceptionally good, and I'm using them a lot, and they seem to be lasting a long time as well. Right, we take it over on the mucky side, and hopefully it won't, whoops, it won't, oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I can't see what, I'm going to take it off of there completely and put it onto here, because I can't see my edge on white. And so that's why I said my eyesight's not that great, and yes, I can manage to do some fussy cutting. So but this, doing it in just a bit of gold like this, I think will work perfectly. So that's going to go around the edge there. That up like that. But yes, I'm really enjoying playing with some of these stamps. I think they're just beautiful. I love having new ideas and new things to work with. I think if you do the same thing with the same sort of products for years and years on end, you can get quite stale. And I think I was suffering from a bit of getting a bit stale, whereas now, you know, my as people say about their mojos, my mojo had although I've always done my 3 videos a week, my mojo was sort of, wasn't waning, but I wasn't inspired, shall we say. So I was able to do ideas and things for people, but I wasn't inspired by anything really. Whereas now I'm starting to get a lot of inspiration back. And as I say, this, you know, how about that? That would work beautifully for either well, for any occasion, for any sort of person. I think that is absolutely stunning. I love the colours in the background. I love it being sort of muted. I love the fact that it's a hare. And again, just to remind you, this is number 369 from All and Create. Website is allandcreate.com, which is AALL and create with an e.com. And it is, as I say, number 369, which is designed by Tracy Evans, and it's called Hare, H-A-R-E, Hare. So I hope you enjoyed that. As always, please stay safe and well. Please be kind, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye-bye.